Hello, Miss St. Germain here. Today's video is about data and graphing. We are going to be, I'm only talking about kindergarten objectives. So there are three big things that I want kindergartners to understand about data and graphing. So the first thing is that I want them to collect, sort, and organize data into 2 or 3 groups. Okay, so I'll go into what each of these mean individually. I'm just going to rattle them off first, and then we'll go back and revisit each one. Okay, the second one is use data to create a real object and a picture graph. So real objects, picture graphs. We're not talking about line graphs, or we do make a lot of bar graphs, but line graphs, bar graphs, like specific kinds of pie graphs, we're not making those. Picture graphs, real object graphs. That's what the minimal goal is. If we can move past that, we do. That's the minimal goal. Number 3, we need to be able to draw conclusions from real object and picture graphs. So I want them to be able to look at a graph and understand what they're seeing from what they're learning and seeing from the graph. Those are the 3 big things that I need them to understand about data and graphing. So I'll go into each one of those and how you guys can help at home. Reminder, we do in math concrete, pictorial, abstract. That means first you work with real objects, second you work with pictures, third you introduce numbers and symbols, and that is the abstract part. I expect them to be able to do all 3 of these things, kind of like measurement. Data and graphing lends itself really easily to real object and pictures, and so it's a concept that the kids tend to do pretty well with. As long as I've done a lot of front work with real objects, we tend to do pretty well. Okay, so collect, sort, and organize data into 2 to 3 categories. Let me explain how you guys can totally do this at home. That is a really fancy way of saying just taking a group of things and sorting them. That's it. So a lot of kids do this very naturally. Some kids do not do this very naturally. So I would highly suggest using cereal like Lucky Charms or Fruit Loops. Those alphabet cereal is really great to use. Putting them on a cookie sheet and sorting them into letters, sorting them by size, sorting them by color. So cereal's not as much about size, but with Lucky Charms especially, you could sort like cereal and marshmallows. Any toy that you have a lot of. I have a big box of Hatchimals. So we could use these to sort. This is what we would use. We would use Hatchimals, we would use cars. If you have a lot of dinosaurs, whatever you have a lot of that's small, that's what I would use at your house. When you're introducing this kind of thing, it's good to use something that's pretty straightforward, like Fruit Loops. There's only one way to sort and categorize them, right? By color. They're all the same shape, they're all the same size, the only difference is color. As your kid gets really good at sorting, I would highly suggest introducing things that are much more complex. Lucky Charms. There's lots of different things. I love Hatchimals. There's ones with wings, ones without wings, one with sparkles, some without sparkles. Giving them several ways to be able to sort. One thing that I do at school that we use, I have a lot more manipulatives that are really great for sorting at school than I do at my house. But one thing that I do at school is I don't dictate to the kids how to sort. At the beginning, when we're learning how to do this, I will say to them, like, we'll talk about different ways we can sort, and I'll model different ways we can sort. Like, I can take this one box of counting bears and I can sort them by size, or I can sort them by color, or I can sort them by type of bear, since I have a couple of different ones. We model those, and then when I send them to their tables, I give each table like a bucket. It looks pretty much like this. I'll put a bucket like this at each table, and then I tell them to sort. And then once they get it fully sorted, then I have them explain how they sorted it to me. So if you've got cars, you'll find that they'll come up with ways to sort that you wouldn't even have thought of. Like, these are all trucks and these are not trucks. I have a box of little dinosaurs that are all different colors, and every year I have kids that'll sort them into really cool different ways. Like, these are the carnivores and these are the herbivores, or we sorted them by color, or we sorted them by these all have long tails and these have short tails. It's really neat to see them come up with these kinds of things. Okay, so that is one way you can collect data and sort data at your house. The other way that is totally accessible to you guys at home is by doing a survey, like a data survey. So I do a lot of graphing at school that has to do with just like what's on our bodies or things that we like or how do we get home from school. So a lot of times I'll do like when we're talking about Texas, we'll be talking about all the different Texas symbols and I'll have them tell me their favorite Texas symbol and then we'll graph that data. So at home, you guys can call family members and say like, what's your favorite breakfast food? And give them three options: pancakes, waffles, bacon. Obviously bacon. But so making those phone calls and then collecting the data that way, that's something that you guys can, that's really easily accessible at home. Okay, so that's collecting, sorting, and organizing data. Use objects, but you can also use people and make phone calls, and that's kind of a fun thing to do. Okay, use data to create real object and picture graphs. Okay, I am going to attach these, but I printed off a couple of examples. This is a really great Lucky Charms graph I found. So you would have your child collect and sort the Lucky Charms, and then they graph the results. So what I would do is I would have them physically, we do this with Fruit Loops at school, I would have them physically at the very beginning of the year. I would have them physically put the moons here, and then I would have them put the cereal on to the graph, and then I would have them take one off at a time and color it, and take it off and color it, and take it off and color it. I hope that makes sense. So that they're transferring the data they collected and sorted, and they're putting it into a graph. There are tons of pictorial examples of this, where and I'll attach this one to the video too, and this one has several. This was just one of the ones I printed. So this was nature walk graphing, so it gives them a set. I have my kids color it, and I have them, what I have at school, just to help the ones that kind of struggle with this a little bit, is I have them pick, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. I have them pick 5 different colors. So all of this thing is colored in one color, all of this thing is colored in another color, and then they transfer that over here to the graph. So when we go one at a time, when I'm teaching this to them, like when I'm showing them how to do this, we do several of these whole group before I let them, before they start doing it individually, like independently, or with support from me. So we would get this colored first, and then I go, okay, well, how many birds are there? And then I say 1, 2, and then we color them in. Okay, so you're taking this is the picture data set, not this is an object, right? So we're taking an object and graphing an object. This one we're taking a picture and graphing a picture. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that's where we're moving the collected, sorted and organized data and moving it to a graph. Okay, and then lastly, I want them to understand the data that they're looking at. So we call this analyzing data. So in this, we're just going to pretend that these are the fruits my family likes. Okay, so there's 6 people, and 3 people like bananas the most, 1 person likes apples the most, and 2 people like oranges the most. So when I'm showing my kids this, I would say, hey, how many people like bananas? And then we'll say 1, 2, 3, and I would write the number 3. Okay, how many people like apples? 1. How many people like oranges? 2. Okay, great. So I want them to see that the largest number, right, is 3, and that's also the most of the people, more people liked bananas than anything else, and that is our largest number. I want them to make that connection. Apples were liked the least. There's only 1 person that likes apples, and that happens to be the smallest number. So a lot of we do these graphs all throughout the year, and then towards probably middle of October, the kids are really great. Because it's a pretty set number of questions. Which fruit did people like the most? And they get it pretty easy because it's very pictorial. Which fruit did people like the least? When we have a larger data set, a lot of times there'll be things that were the same, and so we're looking for the word equal. Were there any that people liked the same amount or an equal amount? We notice those too. Let me see if I'm missing anything. I don't think so. That's what we're really looking forward for. So if you want to work on this concept at home, I would highly suggest using any of the things that I talked about. Oh, dinosaurs, cars, Legos. Legos is great. Noodles, there's also those, I think you can buy alphabet noodles or different, different kinds of noodles, or the noodles that you can sort by color. use things first, then move to pictures, then move to the abstract into numbers. This is a really fun concept. Kids tend to do pretty well with this one. Make it fun. Call your neighbors, call your friends, and have them participate in a survey and collect that data into a graph. Enjoy. This is a fun concept, and I think you guys will enjoy doing this one at home. So I hope you have a lovely day.